I wear 2 chains, so that's why they call me 2 Chains.
Word?
Mm-hmm. Hello, my dudes, and welcome back to the Mikey and the Press Pass podcast. I'm Mike.
I am David.
Hey, how's it going?
It's just another Sigma male grind set, bro.
Yeah.
What is it? Shouldn't it be like Omega? Is Sigma supposed to be like above Omega? Or is it lower than Beta male? I don't know really what a Sigma male is.
I didn't name it. I just, took the moniker.
But you know what it is, right? What is it supposed to be? It's supposed to be like higher than
it's
alpha.
It's above
Alpha
male. That's
right.
why there's the S class, because it's the Sigma class.
Oh. But it seems like that would be Omega.
Omega's last. You got the Alpha and Omega. Beginning and the end. I guess you don't want to be the end. I don't know why.
Yeah, it seems like if you were the end, you would be like the end all be all.
And the funny thing is, like, that whole alpha male, beta male thing has like been debunked.
I don't know what you mean by debunked.
Well,
names we have for people that aren't.
No, because they took that classification from wolves.
Right.
But they found out that wolves naturally do not set themselves up like that. Only captive wolves do that. So by calling yourself a alpha male, you're a captive wolf.
They took it from elves or elves? Wolves?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was kind of just like a primate dominance hierarchy. I didn't know that.
There you go.
On a related note, did you know that I don't know why it occurred to me, but I think I was talking with my girlfriend's brother about this. I think that's who it was. But anyway, I called somebody a pussy.
Hey.
Might have been him. And, you're a pussy.
Okay.
And then he made some kind of cheeky joke about, like, isn't that, like, no longer PC to say, because it's like...
That's the whole thing.
It's like,
it's meant to be offensive.
Right, but he's like, it's not, because it's offensive because it's pejorative toward women. It's making a reference to their anatomy, and I'm like, that's actually not true. Like, that phrase comes from a different word, pusillanimous, right? Which is like specific to men. It means cowardly and weak and lacking manly characteristics. So it actually makes sense that we would call a woman's vagina a pussy because it's lacking male characteristics. So it worked the other way. It didn't work like we call this thing that's a woman anatomy a pussy, and then we call men that thing to deride them. It was like the word to describe their lack of manliness is the word that we use to describe female genitalia.
Yeah.
And I was explaining this, and I'm like, I don't know that a lot of people know that, because I've heard that argument about calling people pussies before, about how it's like, it's basically that it's misogynistic. It's like, putting women down. And I'm like, but it's not in any way. I don't get that. So that's the did you know for this week. So anyway, you finished the Spartan Race this week.
Yes, I did finish the Spartan Race this week.
You finished it.
I finished it. I completed it.
Finisher.
It says it on my medal.
Uh-huh.
Right here. Finisher.
Wait, it's like 2-part medal?
That's why they call me 2 Chains, man. Because I got 2 chains. Come on, man. I said that shit already.
You have 0 chains.
Got 2 of them.
That's not a chain?
2 of them.
Why is one of them like a half a medal?
Oh, it's their thing. Because if you complete 3 different races, different length races, I think they have like a beast, an ultra, and then this is a sprint, what I did, which is a 5K, 10K, and I forgot what the longest one is.
So it's just a signifier as to which one you participated in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, give us a lowdown, man. How'd you do? Did you do better than your brothers? Did they do horrible? Did they do well? Did y'all do well?
I did fair. I knew, looking at the kind of the courses from past events, I kind of knew which events I would not fare very well or even try to do. For example, we talked about this a lot on this podcast. Like, don't have access to a rope, so couldn't learn how to climb a rope. So I was like, I'm not going to fall 2 stories to test it out. I'm not going to fuck around and find out. So, ditch that one.
So how many of the events, I guess, did you complete?
Out of 20, I missed 3. The rope climb, the monkey bars, and the ring. Uh, I don't know how to explain it. Ring obstacle.
Like you're just like
Yeah.
swinging on rings.
Yeah, any gripping thing I couldn't do.
Oh yeah, see, I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
The fucking ropey ape arms.
Yeah,
And
but I fucked up. I like anything that had to do anything with carrying, except for the there's a sandbag carry that you had to complete. That fucking sucked.
Really?
That just broke everybody.
Oh, it seems like you'd be better at that than someone like me. Because you have like short limbs and broad shoulders and like a strong like torso.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. You're not climbing upstairs though. That's the fucking problem.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's like about like a quarter mile, maybe half a mile of carrying like a sandbag that I would think that it was probably around the ballpark around 60 to 70 pounds. I had to guess. I had to carry that fucking thing around.
That's did you do it like individually? Like you go and then like when you're done, someone else goes?
They
Or
have
do you-
heats.
They have-
So they're for that event, I guess they limited to 15 at a time. Because we were running the open heat. And yeah, 15 at a time, and then just go at your own pace.
So like you just and everybody has like their or like you all use the same obstacle.
Mhm.
And then so how many people I guess finished out of like was there like hundreds of people there?
There's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
I couldn't really tell because I just knew the group I was in, and then after the race there was like a bunch more people there. So I was like hundreds of thousands of people, maybe. I don't know.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah.
That many, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, but any of the obstacles I had to do anything with like pulling or pushing, I pretty much did pretty easily. I was like, this is pretty easy actually.
Yeah, again, like
Yeah.
it plays
I'm built for that.
it plays to what you're built for,
Yeah.
right? It's just
Yeah.
like stout and like these short limbs. It's
I
like
like a Wolverine.
like a fucking medicine ball.
Yeah, because they had like an Atlas carry that was pretty easy. They had the weight hoisting thingy.
Mhm.
Like you always see people struggle with it, so I was kind of worried of like how heavy that bag was, but
Yeah.
it was pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't have too much difficulty. I just got like towards the end, like the last 4 obstacles, I was starting to cramp up.
Mm.
And it's one of those moments where like you know where it's about to cramp. So like if you pushed a little bit too hard, that was my worry, is the cramp in the middle of the race. And luckily it didn't. It happened immediately after.
Yeah.
Had like the trifecta of pain. It was calves first, shins at one point, and then became quads or hams. So
Taint locks up.
no, the worst thing is that any of those muscle, like you couldn't stand still depending on what muscle was like tightening up. Because if you're standing up and your quad was cramping up, you have to set your legs straight.
Yeah.
So your foot doesn't point forward.
Yeah.
But if your quad does that, if you stand straight, like it'll cramp up if you stand straight up.
Yeah.
So you're screwed either way. So that fucking sucked.
Yeah, that sometimes I get cramps just sitting on the couch.
But it's something that was like just challenging enough where yeah, it wasn't a cakewalk and it didn't feel impossible. So it'd be something I'd definitely do again. I would like to do it like the same. Hopefully they would have the same event around the same time next year and see how well I would do with like a little bit more training. Cause like the last 2 weeks I kind of just slouched.
Yeah.
They really didn't do much. And my youngest brother, Jordan, he just straight up off the couch went and raced. And it showed. I had to sit back and wait for him a little bit, but you know, it's expected.
Yeah. How many? You said there were like how many events? Like 20?
Yeah, 20 obstacles.
And
it was
how what's the typical length of an obstacle, I guess?
It's pretty short. It's just like one thing. Like
Right, I know, but like, I don't know, like if you're swinging on like I don't know if there's like a monkey bar thing or whatever you're swinging. I don't know if it's like something that's 50 feet or something that's like 200 feet of like going on the bars.
It'd be like from here to the bay door.
Okay.
That's how big the thing is.
So the whole course is maybe like a mile?
No, it's a 5K, so that's about 3 miles.
So they're spread out, and then you like just run between them. Is that how
Yeah.
you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they were like right up one
Oh
against
no
one
no no.
another.
There's the spacing is not equal because there's a major part of it where you do like 3 things in a row, and then you have like a bear crawl like up 3 stories, and then you're kind of crisscrossing on the nosebleed seats of the bleachers, just running through that shit. And I thought that was pretty tough. And then you grab the sandbags, and that's where you get fucked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that one broke a lot of people.
Well, yeah, 'cause it's a swift change from aerobic to anaerobic, right? Where it's like
it's a long haul too.
Yeah, it's like you're gearing your body up toward like, oh, like now we're high heart rate, right? And we can shunt our blood and like and like now we're in like fat burning mode.
Yeah.
And then you shock it by going like, now here's a bunch of extra weight, and now you're suddenly going to be doing anaerobic stuff. And you're just like, oh, what am I doing to myself?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few things I was kind of worried about. Like there's a wall vault, I guess you would say. There's like a 6-foot wall. You have to jump and go over it. And I was like, my legs were burnt out already from climbing the stairs. That was like before I grabbed the sandbags. And yeah, this is definitely a test.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you're going to do it again next year, you'll be a little more prepared for the events and probably have a good idea of how you can train for those events.
Yeah. And apparently that was the easiest one. They only get harder. Yeah. And plus the cool thing too.
Call it Spartan if it were easy.
Yeah, that's true. And it's pretty cool because it was done in Oracle Park, which where the Giants play MLB. And yeah, I haven't been to that stadium in probably like 10 years. And yeah. Highlight, there was like a bear crawl in the away team's dugout. And people were just fucking bear clawing. It's like, fuck this. I just barrel rolled through it. And people were like, oh shit, you can do that. It's like, there's no rules. You just said you can't.
Yeah. It's like, it's trying to get to the other end, bro.
Yeah.
Life hacks. That double pizza thing.
Yeah.
Fucking animals.
It's the best.
I don't know. Yeah, you seem like a kind of guy that probably does that. I don't know why I don't like it.
What?
The flip pizza thing.
Oh, I barely ever do that.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's like a calzone. Why don't I just eat a calzone?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I think my thesis is that the calzone was created when someone just fucked up a pizza. It's like, yeah, just flip it over, just make 2 pizzas and make a calzone.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I miss Bell's Calzones in Ann Arbor. The place closed. Best calzone ever. This fucking guy over here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, making the best calzone.
How was their pizza?
Their pizza was pretty solid too. Like their pizza was like,
it's all the same ingredients.
Sure, but their calzones, I don't know why their calzones were like the best. Their pizza wasn't the best, but their calzones were the best I've ever had.
Huh. Interesting.
For whatever reason. I think it was just how they baked it.
Oh, okay.
And how they stuffed it. Because some places like they bake it, and sure, it's the same crust, but as it turns out, there's a difference between there being like a thin layer of crust just on the bottom baking on the pan versus it like baking over the top, right? Like it's just it bakes in a different way, and it doesn't necessarily always turn out that well. But theirs for some reason just lent itself very nicely. Their pizza was like a solid like B plus A minus on the relative scale of pizzas, but their calzones were like in a category by themselves. Like I don't typically think of myself as like a guy that likes calzones, but then I'm like, but those fucking Bell's calzones, man, I don't know. I don't know if that's my benchmark for a calzone. That's a travesty, man.
It's one of those things that like I'll take or leave a calzone, but like I don't know. See it on the menu, like, all right.
Yeah, I'm generally the same way. But like I don't know why I ever deigned to try the because like calzones are one of those things that it's like every once in a blue moon you might be in the mood for over pizza. Just every fucking once in a while. And
the first time I ever heard of what a calzone was from Pizza Hut. They call it a pizzone.
A pizzone, yeah.
It's like, what's a pizzone? Oh, it's just like a Hot Pocket.
Pretty much. So it's like, that was, I don't know, for whatever reason, when I first started living in Ann Arbor, it was like, I was in the mood for a fucking calzone. Probably because I just didn't want an entire pizza. And someone was like...
There's like a pocket pizza, personal size.
Yeah, it was basically about as filling as... Well, I don't know, maybe as filling as one of their small pizzas. But I don't know, I was just in the mood for it, and then I got it, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. And I just like kept getting it because I really liked it.
Yeah.
And they went out of business. Speaking of new food, I had an elk burger for the first time tonight. That was pretty good. I've eaten elk before, but I've never had an elk burger. That was pretty solid.
Did it like the taste transferred to it? You can tell it's like not beef.
You can tell it's not beef, but it's just like with anything that's in a burger form, it doesn't make as much. It's more difficult to delineate than it's closer to a hamburger than like an elk steak is to a beef steak.
Yeah.
Or an elk kebab, which are the only forms of elk I've ever had, like just cutlets or whatever. So it's kind of like that, sort of like when you eat jerky, right? Like beef.
Ooh, it's ostrich. Right. Like, it just tastes like dried up beef.
Yeah, it just tastes like jerky. Like elk jerky is good, but it's a burger's the same way. And yeah, it's good. I mean, I don't think it's as good as beefalo. Beefalo's pretty dope, but something different.
Where'd you get it?
We went to this place called, I think it was like the Old Wagon or something. Old Wagon Saloon or some shit. It's in San Pedro Square.
Okay.
We just were looking for, Diana's brother was in town last couple days. And so we, I was like, hey, how about we go out to lunch? And she was like, well, how about this place? It's never tried it before. And so we went over there. Yeah, it was fine. I probably won't go back, but it was all right. I mean, it was an Elk Burger. It was like fucking $23 though, too.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, Jesus.
It's better be good.
It was good, but it wasn't that fucking
This ain't no Cassell's, bro.
It ain't no Cassell's burger.
Fucking up.
Cassell's fucks burgers up, bro. They fuck it up. Anyway, what else besides the Spartan Race? I feel like I haven't talked to you. I saw you for a minute on Monday, but we didn't really hang out about it.
Yeah, we didn't play pool or anything.
Yeah.
I didn't get to play D&D. Want to go get some extra sleep.
That makes sense. Once I realized the Spartan Race was to like yesterday or today or whatever it was. It was yesterday, right?
Yesterday.
Yeah. Once I realized that, I was like, oh, that's why he's not playing D&D.
Yeah, for sure. Because I was like, I don't want to risk it. I want to be like, sorry, guys, got to cancel last minute.
Yeah,
So I just like preemptively.
Yeah.
And I was right. I just passed out, like, had a cigar at the cigar shop. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go sleep.
Yeah. That'll do it. It's anything like that. Like anytime I go to like shoot around or I don't know, hit the heavy bag or whatever on the rare occasions that I do that. Man, sleeping good tonight.
Yeah. I will say, like, this whole, like, I like whenever I see someone do like a marathon or any type of race, you see the people cheering, good job, this and that. It's like, does that really motivate people? And it does. It's like, you fucking gotta go. It's like, I do fucking got it. I'm going.
Yeah.
Or just like the peer pressure of like you hearing somebody in the back. It's like, you fucking got this. Like, okay, I'm not gonna quit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's encouraging.
Yeah. And I didn't know like running marathons cost a lot of money.
Does it? I had no idea.
Yeah, because I was overhearing people when we were queuing up for our heat. It was like, I can't believe how expensive it is. It was like $150 a race. And
to race in the Spartan Race. Okay.
Yeah, and for me, I kind of get it because of the logistics of it. They're renting out a ballpark and having to set up all these things are pretty expensive.
Right, and wrangling cats of like figuring out how to fucking get everybody like whatever it's organized, and you gotta have people that do that.
Yeah, so in my
free.
Yeah, so in my mind, $150 is really
not cost prohibitive.
Yeah, it's not crazy. But apparently, it's like if you run like a pretty well-known marathon, it can cost you like $500 to race it.
I don't know. I mean, considering how big the fucking like Boston Marathon is, or
Yeah,
New York Marathon, it's
because
ridiculous.
I get the logistics of it. You have to get cops, the city, and all that stuff to set up all this stuff, shut down the roads and everything else.
Permits, time, effort, energy, coordination.
Yeah, but if you have like a prestigious kind of race event like that, it's like $500. That's thousands of people racing that thing, hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, tens of thousands at least. Yeah, that's why it's like a big deal. As somebody that like. Well, not to mention too, you don't want fucking dilettantes. Like for something like the Boston Marathon, it has to cost enough that it's going to deter people that'll be like, whatever, I'll run it just to say that I ran it. I mean, even if I cop out, it's like, no, if you haven't trained for this thing and you don't feel like there's a high degree of probability that you'll finish, and it would be like a point of pride for you, you're not going to pay $500 to do something like on a whim. Like, whatever, I'll do it. It's cool, right? Like, like passing by a photo booth at the fucking mall or something, right?
Well, you get those guys that wear the costumes like a running hot dog. You're like,
Yeah.
ah,
Eat me, eat me,
eat
eat me.
me. What's the other thing I was gonna say? Oh yeah, they're during the race they had like the competitive heat. Like I think it was like the first heat they had there, and they're kind of naming off the times. And I was like, and some people like that place, they're around a 30-minute mark to run that whole race. I got done. It was like about 75 minutes, 80 minutes to run that thing. I was like, how the fuck does what the fuck? It seems like superhuman to me.
Well, I mean, if you're used to running and you can run between the courses
Now busting your balls out for some of that stuff. I
really
was like, yeah,
fast, I mean, imagine you're the kind of person that runs a 5K and you can run a 5K, and people that run 5Ks can usually do so in like 20 minutes, 25 minutes if they're fairly decent at it. And so,
14 minutes.
right.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying, like if you ran a 5K in like 20, that would be like a respectable time. You wouldn't be somebody who's like really good, but if you can run a let's just say if you can run a 10K, you can run a 5K in like
Yeah.
under 15 or under. And so if you're that kind of person that runs that and you got the other obstacles down when you're running between each thing,
Yeah.
the whole 5K only takes you 15 minutes. And then you're doing, if you know the other things as well as you do the running, then it's another 15 or 20
But
minutes.
even like the senior division was like still pretty fast. Like let's say the like 25 to 30 age range was hitting around that half hour mark. Like the dudes were like 45 to 50 were running like 35 minutes. I was like, holy shit, they're really running pretty close. That's the
Well,
difference of just like messing up a couple of obstacles or just being really efficient at one.
Well, I think part of it is just kind of the phenomenon between you and your brother, right? Which is that if you're a guy that's like say over 45, 45 to 55, and you're going to endeavor to do something like that, it's probably because you are in a general you're in an overall better condition than someone your age, and you prepare for it and take it fairly seriously.
Or you have like a history of doing like cross country or just
Exactly.
doing that type
But
of
like the
event.
younger guys, the guys are 18 to 25 or whatever, they have the attitude like your brother. He's like, I just get off the couch and fucking do this shit. I'll
Yeah.
be fine, right? Because that's the attitude when you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
Mhm.
You're like, yeah, whatever. I don't gotta, whatever. It's always funny to me when I see people that have
You're
that
not gonna
attitude.
stretch.
Yeah. When they
I'm
have,
young.
when people have that attitude and then they go through the growing pains of like turning 25, 26,
Oh yeah.
and they start slowing down, and
Mhm.
they still take that tact, and
Uh-huh.
just like how bad they're just like it shatters their fucking worldview. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, you thought you were gonna be this way forever?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I never really had that attitude. I knew that shit was coming because I seen it with my old man, especially my stepdad too. He was fairly athletic, and you can see him being a little bit more ginger, being more cautious as he got older. And I was like, oh shit, that shit comes to everybody.
I think part of it is too, though, is when you're young, generally speaking, like when it starts happening, maybe the first couple of times it happens where you're a little sore, a little more tired, you have a tendency to be like, I probably just overdid it.
Mhm.
And it's like, no, you didn't overdo it. You overdid it insofar as that you're trying to compete like you're 19,
Yeah.
and now you're pushing 30.
Mhm.
There's a big difference between those two things. So like even if your skill set doesn't go, it's just how hard you can push yourself. I remember when I went and played hockey with my ex-wife's dad, and he played hockey every week, and he was like in his late 40s, early 50s at the time. Yeah, actually, I think he was in his early 50s, like 51, 52. And he's like, oh, yeah, I play with this group of guys every week. And like, hey, like, you used to come along, you used to play. I'm like, dude, I haven't played in like, I was probably 28. I'm like, I ain't played ice hockey in like 7 or 8 years, man. He's like, oh, you'll be fine. It's pretty low key. And
Oh yeah.
I
Weren't
get,
they all AAA players?
they were, I mean, they were all like, yeah, not all of them, but a lot of them were former AAA players, right? And I get out there first shift, I'm all fresh. I get out, I score a goal on my first shift. I'm like, all right, cool, right? But the bench is short. They got 6 guys on their team,
Yeah.
which means 5 guys on the ice, 1 guy on the bench.
Uh-huh.
And I get out there, I go kind of hard for the first shift, I score a goal, I come back to the bench. I'm like halfway through catching my breath, and someone's like, "All right, man, you're up." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I did that for like a period where it was like not being able to, because I'm used to, like, you play on a fucking team with a full bench. You go out, you go hard for a minute or two, and then you come back on the bench, and you got another 3 or 4 minutes before you get on the ice. And I was wrecked, man. And like by my account, like fucking Andy, her dad, he played almost the fucking whole game.
Yeah. Well, he
At
knew how
like
to pace himself. That's
fuck
why. Yeah, he just knew what to do.
He played almost the whole fucking game, and I was like, and he's good too, man. He plays defense, and he was good. And I was like, man, he was like, oh yeah, you did good. I'm like, not really.
Throwing up in the court.
Not quite, but I almost got there. Like toward the end of the game, someone came up and they're like, "Hey, you're up on right wing," and I was just like, "Nope."
What do you mean? Your shift's up. I'm tired.
Yeah. He was like, "Oh, I'm kind of tired." And I'm like, "No, I'm just gonna sit here for a while longer, man. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not doing that." So,
you can't clean up, throw up at the ice, man. It just freezes.
Yeah, it bounces and then it freezes. Blood bounces on the ice too. It's fun.
So, any other fun activities this week?
Funtivities?
Yeah.
Devin was in town.
Oh,
that was cool. He came down, hung out on, it was Tuesday. So we hung out Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah, man, he's fucking antsy, man. I always feel like, well, he comes into town and I'm like, maybe we'll go out and like get some dinner or something and go out and do something, but he just gets like, someone comes into town, hangs out, stays over, you just mostly hang out at the house, whatever, listen to records, drink booze, smoke cigars, whatever. But he's like, it's like fucking midnight, and he's like, hey man, you want to like go get a drink? I'm like, dude, by the time we go get up to a bar or whatever, I might have time for one drink before its last call. And I was like, if you just want a drink, like I can make us a drink. And he was like, I don't know. I just like, and we're in the house, right? And I'm like chilling, and he's like pacing around the house and shit. I was like,
he's like the opposite of Matt.
He's just all amped, right? He's like all itching, and
he's like a werewolf. Was the moon out?
I don't know. It's like I felt kind of bad, like I was just boring him. But we went up to the pool hall and shot some 9-ball. and done that in a while, so that was cool. In the middle of the day too. It was like 2 PM. And we went up there, and that was like, it's so nice. It's like all quiet.
Okay.
No chuckleheads, no fucking people yelling about, yeah, you got it. No fucking Drake on the, it's quiet. It was like 5 or 6 guys like shooting at tables. It's nice. And
all the degenerates.
Yeah, I don't know. But it was nice. So we shot some 9-ball, and that was that. Whatever. Shot the shit for a bit. I hadn't seen him. God, it's probably been almost 6 months, probably, since we hung out.
Okay.
June, might have been right around the 4th of July, but either way, it's been a minute. So that was cool. And then, like I said, right after that, like Diana's brother came into town, and he was hanging out, and there was some drama with her parents, right? As there always is drama with her parents, and it's mostly my fault most of the time.
The what?
Oh, they don't really like me. And they seem to think that the fact that Diana
just corrupting the youth.
Pretty much. This is pretty much what they think, that I just like put all these ideas in Diana's head. Which, okay, I'm sure I put some ideas in there. We fucking hang out all the time, but not anymore than I put ideas in your head, or you put ideas in my head, or whatever. It's like just part of being in a relationship with someone, right? And but they come over, and I was doing something. I was working. And so they come in to drop the kid off, and I didn't know they were coming in. They just kind of came in, and they're lingering by the door or whatever. And they come in, and I'm
get out of my house.
And I'm working on something. And so they're like, hi. And so I just kind of look up. I'm like, oh, hi, how's it going? Right. And I just kind of went back to what I was doing. And then they come in, and I can tell by the tenor of the conversation that they want to give Diana a hard time about something.
Snows, pierogies, and shit.
Yeah. And so they're they want to give her a hard time about like this, basically a student loan that she has out in their name. And like, they want her to pay it more quickly than she's paying it. And she's like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm already paying on these other loans. And so, but they want to like basically browbeat her into doing this. And so, and they were unable, like I was there, so they were unable to isolate her so they can like bully her. So they start talking in Romanian as a way to, and after a minute, I was like, hey, like, it was kind of the pierogies and snow shit. I was like, look, I know you guys are all Romanian or whatever, but like, can you please speak English when you're in the house? Like, I don't speak Romanian, and it feels like you're just trying to cut me out of the conversation. So please speak English when you're here. That was all I said. I was polite about it, but they like fucking after they were just like, oh, okay, and then like they left, and then of course they're like texting her and calling her and like, oh, I'm so mean and
Can't police me now, huh, bitch?
so I'm so mean and disrespectful or whatever. And it's like, oh god, it's like, oh, whatever. And she was like, well, they were like, they thought that you were, and I was like, you can just tell them that they don't have to come inside. They can stay out in the parking lot and wait for the kid or pick him up or whatever. If they don't want to be here,
fucking daycare.
it's like, yeah, it's like, what do you want? Like, I'm not going to have someone come into my home to browbeat my girlfriend about something and deliberately exclude me from the conversation. Like, that's just not cool. And I know what they're doing. They're doing that shit on purpose. Like, I'm hip to it, right? And the fact that I called them out on it, they're upset. So, but you know, hanging out with the kid was fun. He gets more manageable now every time. He's 18 now, so
Hey.
he's like somewhat of an adult, even if he's still kind of a big drama queen about things.
Uh-huh.
He's super gay, you know. He's all concerned about every time he's around. It's like every single stereotype you can imagine of like a gay dude.
Ah.
Tick, 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 tick. Like,
yeah, you gotta go through those growing pains, I guess. This is an extra layer growing up. Yeah, so
yeah, no, I don't begrudge him, but it's just amusing to me. He just says things like, I assume, you know, like, so you don't like Mariah Carey? And I'm like, I think you know the answer to that. Like, I think you know the answer.
Oh wait, look through my record collection. Nope, don't like them.
Yeah, I just, you know, whatever, man. You don't like Whitney Houston? I'm like, dude, you've met straight men before, right? How many?
Break my heart.
Is that Whitney Houston? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
No, Toni Braxton.
Yeah.
Toni Braxton. Yeah, the names even sound kind of similar.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that was most of my week, entertaining people at the house, which is.
Can you say it? Grinds your gears.
No, I don't know that it grinds my gears.
Oh, damn it! Sounds really low, but okay.
No, I don't know. The kid he's getting better about like whatever. He still like has this attitude, like he's like.
Is he being like a debate lord still?
No, see, the thing is he's getting better.
Yeah.
But like, it's like the longer I'm around him, the more, you know, it's like you see like a dog and you're like, oh, hey, you're a good boy. And no, but you're like, hey, you're a good boy. But then if you're like, yeah, I said, and you just get them all amped up, yeah. Right? And they might like, I don't know, piss on the rug or something. Mm-hmm. He's kind of like that. Mm. So it's like, I'll talk to him and we'll be talking for a while. And then at a certain threshold, it's like he just gets overexcited. Mm. And so the other night I had to cut the conversation short. I was like, all right, man, you're not listening to me. You're talking over me. You're interrupting. You're like making all kinds of assumptions and you're not staying on topic. So okay, I'm going to bed. Right. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, what? Just because I'm like, look, dude, I'm going to bed. I told you, like, if this is the way you're going to talk to me, I just don't have much interest in talking to you. You're making it difficult. Mm. So I'm gonna go to bed. And then I got up today and he's like, oh, I feel like I like pissed you off or something. I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, you didn't piss me off. It's just like there is contingencies upon interacting with me. You know, if it begins to frustrate me, then I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not mad at you or anything like that. It just like you seem to slip back into old habits. For several hours we had a conversation about stuff and you stayed on point and you listened to my points and considered them and you made your own points, some of which were thoughtful and insightful but then at some point it's just like he just gets all overexcited and it's like you can't tamp down. It's like he forgets he's having a conversation. He's like a dog just chasing his tail in the corner. It's like, all right. So he's always like, oh, I just feel like I always just like irritate you and piss you off. And I'm like, no, you're always like criticizing me. I'm like, no, I'm trying to help you because like, you keep like this thing is where he's like says one thing, but he does another. And the other thing is contrary to his stated goals. And so I just try to point out to him the incongruence in that. And also like how he's perceived by me and how he's likely perceived by other people. And explain to him some things. And I'm like, look, man, I don't have a dog in the race. That's how your life turns out. Not really. So I don't really care, but I'm just trying to help because you're my girlfriend's brother, right? And he's like, well, you're so mean all the time. And I'm like, I'm trying to be honest with you because I just generally get the impression that most people are not honest with you. Do you want people to be nice to you or do you want people to be honest with you? It seems like you just walk around with your head in the clouds, like people just, oh, like it's
You're the
okay.
best.
Well, yeah,
You're the greatest.
there's something he told me that like his teachers and his therapist and his parents are
His
always
therapist is telling him he's good.
he was talking about having goals and that he was like, well, there's nothing wrong with like falling short of something that you like. It's what counts as the effort. And I'm like, that's not true. I don't know who told you that, but that's a fucking lie, right? They're doing you a disservice by telling you that like having some grit and some wherewithal to get through something that's tough and get to the goal that you want, there is value in that. Now, it doesn't need to be that way with everything. Sure, you're going to cut yourself some slack when you fail, absolutely, but it's a failure nonetheless, and not calling it a failure and cutting yourself slack is doing you a disservice. When you call failures victories, then this is how you have a recipe for just never doing anything to the full degree that you want. And I'm like, I don't know who put this idea in your head, but it's horseshit. And they're just trying to spare your feelings. And I don't think that's strangely, I'm telling you this not to be mean, but because I actually give a shit that people are deluding you. And so I'm like, you're 18 now, man. Like, you need to start thinking about like
big boy pants on.
Right. Now you're good at being a teenager, but guess what? People are going to stop expecting you to be a teenager soon and start expecting you to be a fucking adult. So don't keep acting like a teenager. Start learning how to be an adult. And because it all started because he told me a while back that he was like, well, I turned, last time he visited, he's like, I turned, at the end of the year, I turned 18. And he's like, I'm moving out. And I'm like, good. I think you should move out. Figure out whatever.
Good luck with that. Mazel tov.
I told him, I was like, I'll give you $500 if you move out by the end of the year. Free and clear. Just give it to you in cash, in hand. If you show me your name on a lease that you've moved out. Period. And then now miraculously his birthday just came and went. It's getting down to the end of the year.
Well, situations change.
Exactly. Exactly. He's like, well, it's meeting my needs now, and I readjusted my goals. And I'm like, yeah, you're always going to be doing that if you don't ever like stick to anything. And
sounds familiar.
Yeah, I was like, you should have, like, if you're starting to realize that you're always readjusting your goals, maybe try having goals that aren't as lofty. I'm going to be a fucking cartoon dog with a jetpack someday. Like, good luck, right? I'm going to be a cowboy astronaut millionaire. And like, oh, but it's okay if I fail. It's like, well, not if you actually want that thing.
Yeah.
Not if you actually want it. It's not okay. Don't have so many hardline things. If your goal is just to get better than you are at something, get better at chess, get better at skating, get better at fighting, whatever it is you want, then that's a good goal to have. But you shouldn't set yourself up for failure by telling yourself, or especially telling other people, that you're going to do something that you never have any intention of doing all the way to the end.
Yeah, there's like prime examples of like kind of getting social credits by saying lofty goals. Is like, oh, this guy has it. But when
he dreams big,
dreams big, he's gonna do this. Is like when you actually don't follow through, people are like, yeah, this guy's full of shit. Lose social points after that. You can only gamble on that a few times before people are like, yeah, whatever, who cares?
This is what I was trying to explain to him. I was like, it matters that you're a reliable person. It's better to be a reliable person, period. And we were talking about him, because he was talking about, well, I don't know, you don't seem really concerned with whether people think you're nice. And I'm like, because it's more important. I don't know who filled your head with the idea that being nice is more important than being honest. Being honest is better because people will respect you if you're honest. And if they, like, not that they won't respect you if you're nice, but
at least they know where you fall.
Right. I'm like, look, man, does it mean anything to you when I say things? Like, do I say a bunch of mean things to you? So you say some mean stuff. I'm like, but do I say nice stuff to you too? He's like, yeah, you say plenty of nice stuff. I'm like, right, but you notice the negative stuff. But I bet you really notice like the things that I say that like you actually take them to heart if I give you a compliment, because you know that if it wasn't true, I just wouldn't fucking say it to like spare your feelings, right? He's like, well, you know, you make me feel like I'm a loser. I'm like, no, I never said you were a loser. I said you were a bum. And I'm like, that might seem like a distinction without...
You're a bum, Jules.
Without merit.
You got words for that.
Yeah. He was like, well, what do you... I'm like, a loser is somebody who like really can't help what their circumstance. They have a bad personality. They have no merits and a bunch of flaws. Where a bum is circumstantial, right? You have no job, you have no apartment, you have no fucking car. He's like, well, I'm getting a job. I'm like, okay, well, that'll go a long way to like ameliorating being a bum. A bum is someone without like a fucking job, like who can't stand on their own feet.
Yeah.
Right. And you could be a bum and a loser, and you could be a loser without being a bum, and you can be a bum without being a loser. And so they're not mutually exclusive. Like, plenty of people I know, this Sean guy we play D&D with, he's kind of a bum, but he's not a loser. Like, he's a cool dude. Like, but he's just kind of a, I mean, maybe he's not so much anymore, but he used to just be a bum. He was like fucking couch surf and like.
Okay, so what do you consider like someone just a fucking a loser at life? They just have no goals at all, just a potato on the couch?
I think of a loser as somebody who has no values in general. Like they don't have any values, and they don't take pride in certain things, right? Like a loser doesn't take pride in like,
they're just shoveled. They don't give a shit what they look like or how they treat people or anything like that.
They don't care what people think of them. They don't care that they're reliable. They don't care whether, you know,
I just think of that as a scumbag.
Sure, whatever you want to call it, scumbag, loser. But a bum is, to me, just somebody ain't got a job, don't have no money, like, you know.
It's the state of being, not kind of your personality, I guess.
It's like the difference between being broke and being poor.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Yeah, broke and just don't have any money right now.
Right.
Poor, you're just fucking constantly...
It's a chronic problem.
Yeah, it's a chronic problem.
It's a problem that stems from probably part of your personality and a lot of your circumstances, and it's a pathological thing, and being a loser is probably like that. Like, where being a bum could be ameliorated by just doing a few things. If you're a loser, I think it's easier to be a bum.
Yeah, definitely.
You just don't have any work ethic.
They're like kissing cousins.
Right. Yeah. You don't care if you know, you mooch off of people. You don't care if they think lowly of you. You have no reliability.
Man, I'm trying to get mine, man.
Yeah. So whatever. But they're like, no, but you're a bum. And I just like, why are you, you know?
Yeah, like when you're 17, it's like, yeah, just a fucking kid. Once you turn 18, you're a fucking bum.
Well, and that's what I told him. I'm like, look, you claim to have been wanting to work toward not being a bum. And I get it. Like when you're young, you have no choice, but like you have to live with your parents. And, you know, maybe if you're young enough, you actually can't get a job, but like whatever. But after a certain point, especially when you avowed to like want to do these things, then you don't have a lot of it either. What have you been doing to work toward this thing that you say that you want? Instead of just saying that you want it, because that's not a goal. That's just a fantasy. It's a dream, right? Like a thing you wish would happen, as long as you don't have to actually do anything to work toward it, which is not a goal. A goal is something that you work toward incrementally. And like, if you want to tell me you don't have any goals, that's fine. I don't fucking begrudge you that. Like, I don't know, like things are fine. I don't really need much more than what I got going on. Okay, good, fine, great. And if you got generally your whole things in order, right? You have some friends, you have some hobbies, you got a job, you can generally just kind of like exist on your own accord, then you're not an imposition on anybody. Bums are an imposition on people. Yeah. Somebody. And the fact that you don't care, if you don't care that you are an imposition on someone, you're a bum and a loser. Right? And so, but I'm like, look, man, this isn't doing you any favors, and people just tell you this shit is okay. And like, I don't have a dog in the race as to what you do, but then why do you seem like you keep seeking my approval on this shit and asking my advice on it, and you just keep ignoring it, and so why do I want to keep wasting my breath on it? Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's fair, you know. I have taken some things to heart, like we talk and we argue about stuff, and so I've kind of tried to instill in him some things that I think are poor debate tactics. And one of them is whataboutism, and he's like, "Oh my god! Like ever since you fucking pointed that out, like when I'm in school, like people do it all the time."
What about the kids in Africa?
Yeah, he's just like, people do it all the time. Like he's like, my teachers at school do it, and I'm just like, yeah, that's just whataboutism. It's not relevant to what we're talking about.
Yeah,
like,
Dish Gob's a big one.
Yep. Yeah, he used to be notorious for that. Yeah, just be like, Shapiro was notorious for
Oh
that
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Just gish gals the
yeah,
fuck out of people.
yeah.
Um,
What was the other one? Mott and Bailey.
yeah.
That one. I've been seeing that a lot. A lot.
Yep. Yeah, it's but yeah, so I just tried, I explain these things to him, and he's like, "Oh, I have learned some stuff, I guess he's doing better in school now, so that's good, but
Oh, is he still in high school?
yeah, he's just finishing up his senior year. I
Hmm.
think he's just coming up on finals for his first semester.
Okay.
So he has one more semester and he finishes in June, assuming his grades get kept up. But it sounds like he's doing fairly well. He's got like a passable GPA,
Man, I couldn't imagine like during the time of COVID having like going through high school.
Yeah.
That would fucking suck.
Mm-hmm.
Or even the people last year or the year before. Like you pretty much didn't have a senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of stayed at home. That would fucking suck.
Oh, well, I don't know how it was in your high school, but fucking that was kind of the way it was with seniors. Even when I was in high school, is your senior year, you pretty call senioritis.
Yeah.
You just pretty much stay at home anyway. You
Yeah.
fucking don't do anything your last semester, especially.
But interactions with your fellow classmates during that time kind of, adds to it. And, everyone should have that experience.
I
At least
mean,
junior
I didn't,
year.
but yeah, I mean, I guess I can see the value in it, but
Mhm.
like I didn't because I, switched high schools and then I finished high school early, and so like I just kind of slipped out.
Yeah.
Because it was like the middle, like I basically finished the middle of what would have been the senior year for my class,
Mhm.
and so
Ooh, that sucks.
I just finished like after semester one,
Mhm.
so I just kind of like did the old Irish goodbye. I was fucking out.
I'll moonwalk over here.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "Are you coming to graduation?"
Huh?
Like, I have people like tell us like, "Hey man, like you've been in school in a while. Like, well, where have you been?" And I'm like, "I don't go to school anymore." Why not? I finished 4 months ago, and they're like, "Oh shit, I didn't know that." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I transferred my credits, and I took a half schedule for my all. Once I transferred all of my credits, and then my second semester of junior year, and then I basically went to the high school for 1 year, for 2 semesters, second half of junior year, first half of senior year.
Mhm.
And then for the first half of my junior year, there's like a 9-week marking periods, right? Or
Yeah.
9-week semesters, or 18-week semester, 18-week semesters, right? So I went for the first 9 weeks, and then I just didn't go from weeks 9 to 18. I waited for the next semester at the school that I transferred to go. And so I basically went for another 1 year, but I only took classes. I didn't even have a class until like 9:30 or something. And so I just went from like 9:30 to 2.
Yeah.
For like one semester, and I had enough credits to graduate
Mhm.
because they just had a lower credit threshold than the school that I came from.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, I can just fucking fucking roll out of bed at like 9 o'clock.
Mhm.
It's like, hey, I go to school, I guess. Like go do some work, and it was like, yeah, and they had like a really really lax absence policy. Like basically you can have double the absences of like a normal high school.
Okay.
So you can miss like a day a week.
Oh wow.
And it wouldn't like affect your
It wouldn't
grade.
trigger anything from
It
the school
wouldn't.
system.
Nope. 1 day a week. I was like, fuck, dude. And then Fridays we got out early.
Yeah.
We got out at like 1 o'clock or something.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like, god damn, like this shit's a fucking cakewalk. But yeah, but some people still didn't fucking finish. Like some people still laying. I remember the first semester I was there, I had this career opportunities class or something, and the teacher was like, "Oh yeah, okay, so a lot of you are going to be entering into adulthood now because most of you are probably 17, 18, maybe some of you 19." And this one guy, Pierre, he was like, "Man, y'all only that?" He's like, "I'm 23."
What the fuck?
I was like, "Damn, dude."
Dude, I'd be embarrassed. I'd take night school. Fuck that.
Yeah,
That's so embarrassing.
He was kind of a ratchet person though.
What the fuck?
And that was just typical. There was
23?
There was a lot of ratchet people there.
Whoa.
Yeah. They had a smoking area for the students.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, the Midwest seems to be a little bit more lax on that.
I mean, this was a while ago too, obviously, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was a smoking like for students, and it just didn't. No one seemed to care that there were like kids that were like 13, 14 years old smoking out there.
Oh wow.
They just didn't monitor it or anything.
Yeah, I've heard stories in my old high school where if you were 18, you can go into the teachers' lounge and smoke. But that was, 10 years prior.
Yeah,
So
no, this This was just outside, like, and yeah. And they actually like extended the time between classes to give kids time to go smoke if they smoke.
Fuck.
So instead of 5 minutes between classes, it was like 10 or 15 minutes or
Why
whatever.
don't you just do that shit after school?
They couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah,
Never.
anyway, so that was a little bit of a diatribe, the side tangent that we got up on there. But I went to Maggiano's when Devin was in town. Did you fucking see that picture I put on my Instagram, dude?
No, I didn't.
It was fucking staggering. It was exactly what I was talking about a couple weeks ago. The whole skimpflation. I guess it was just last week's podcast, right? It was the whole like
not simflation?
Not simflation.
Oh, that's sad.
That's a full cocktail.
That's sad.
Yeah. I was like, what in the ever-loving fuck? I was just like super.
Do you like, what's up with this?
Nope. I'm just like,
I didn't
okay.
ask for the kid size.
I guess I'm just not going back because what happened is.
This is the one at Santana Row?
Is there another Maggiano's? I didn't even know.
I thought there was more than one around here.
Fuck, maybe there is. I didn't know. I'd never been to anyone other than one in Santana Row. So when I first started going to Maggiano's, how it worked was most of the pastas.
Hey, you're here, your family.
Yeah, you're here, your family. But how it was is it was like, okay, so the classic pastas were usually about somewhere between $12.75 and $13.50 for a classic pasta. Then they had some other nicer mussels and clams or whatever, and those would be like $16, $17. And if you got a classic pasta, you got a take-home pasta to take with you.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Then COVID hit. Fast forward a little while longer, and I went after COVID, and the price had crept up a little bit. So now instead of it being like $13, $14, it's like $16.50 for the classic pasta. Okay, I get it. Now I went, like hadn't been in a few months. Now the classic pastas have crept up to $18.50 a pop, and the take-homes are $5 on top of that. So it's basically like for the same amount of food, I'm now paying like $25, $26, which pre-COVID is like double the fucking cost. And then it was the same thing. It's like we ordered an appetizer. I used to order the mozzarella marinara. I used to get 4 pieces. Now I get 3. And like, you know, and then the cocktails came and I was like, all right, I think I'm just probably not coming back here, right? Like it used to be Maggiano's was like fairly good food and a fairly good deal, especially for Santana Row. And now they've just kind of crept up.
Now they're kind of even with most of the restaurants.
And now they're kind of even with most of the restaurants in the row. And it's like, oh, that's a shame. And so I don't know that I'll be back. And it was kind of disappointing. Service was good. Food was good. But it was like, dude, seriously? This is a $14 cocktail? It was like as much booze as here, but it was supposed to be a cocktail.
Yeah.
And I took a drink of it and it was cloyingly sweet. I was like, this is like you gave me
all simple syrup.
All simple syrup and like a fucking splash of booze. I was like, that's unbelievable. It's just, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's just bad. But yeah, so that was that was the what grinds my gears segment this year. This Maggiano's, you grind my gears. Hey, I thought when I was there I was family, but you know, I used to
just the black sheep now.
I used to get a take-home pasta for free, but now I worry about family.
Oh, speaking of like goals, usually this time of the year I like kind of plan out my year for next year. Goals for the most part I hit most of them. I'll see if I can lose the extra 5 pounds within the next coming weeks. I don't know if that's possible.
An extra, like on top of what you had intended on losing already, or just
just hit my goal.
Okay.
To get to 180.
Okay.
But I'm 185 right now, so probably a little bit more.
I was gonna say you look about the same weight as you did, like pre-COVID.
Thanks.
Yeah, you put on a little bit of weight, like in the beginning of COVID.
Oh, I put a lot of fucking weight on.
No,
not beginning of COVID. The last year during this time, I put like an extra 10 to 15 pounds.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, that's not like capital LOT lot. Like that's a
lot.
It's a lot.
That's at least 10% extra on my total weight.
But it ain't a lot. It's not like 25, 30 pounds. Like that's a fucking shit ton of weight.
Yeah.
10 or 15 is like, fuck, I gotta get to work. Like I'm not
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm actually lighter pre-COVID, so that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, by a little bit, right?
Yeah. So some goals, just the same thing, gonna stroll on with more of the weight loss thing. Um, kind of, kind of looking around uh, like job searching and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
see what kind of uh gaps in my skill set that I would like to have that I don't have now.
Like
Um,
for machining?
yes, for
Oh,
machining.
okay.
So like just in case I just want to leave this place, then I have that skill set at least I could lean on. And because I have a ton of experience doing being in the job, but some of the things I would like to have for someone with my years of experience should have, I think. So
Yeah, join the club. I'm that way with a lot of stuff. Like
yeah,
when it comes to reportering,
yeah.
I don't have the skill set of like a few different things that like,
Oh, what, you don't have a New York best time seller whatever
yeah,
thingy?
no, I've been a reporter for fucking what, more than 10 years.
Hmm.
So like professionally, and been doing it, you know, like I worked for the student paper and I did some freelance work when I was in college. So from the time I was 24, but like somebody else that's been a reporter for 15 years is much better at it than I am.
Uh-huh.
But it's probably because I haven't really been doing it full time the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like a part that I did full time for cumulatively like 2.5 years of those
Hmm.
15 years or whatever. So yeah. So you don't come from one of those Asian families, like if you don't stay in the family business, like you're just like disowned. Like
No, I don't think so. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I haven't really pushed that.
I
But yeah.
feel I feel like if you I feel like if that were the case, you would know. Like it would be overt enough that you would be able to pick up on it over time
Hmm.
to know what's expected of you. Like parents are usually not shy about letting their kids know what they expect of them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some things they say, but doesn't pan out.
Most days, when you gonna get married?
No, they don't ever say that.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, just job stuff. Just want to get more in the habit of just reading a little bit more. Just make time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh yeah, cuz for me it's just I'm always someone that it's like collection of skill sets that I always
Mm-hmm.
do, like something for the podcast, something for something else, other projects.
Yep.
And why don't you just fucking read? I don't know. I don't know.
I find it's good to just kind of to just set easy
Yeah, obtainable
goals.
goals.
Yeah,
Like
for your
a book a month. That seems pretty reasonable.
no, but the better way to do it is I've discovered is like I try to do that, but then sometimes I just don't make time.
Hmm.
And so like
Well, that's the whole thing. You
yeah,
gotta make time.
right. But I'll just say like, okay, so for instance, right now I'm reading The Demon Hunted World. Great book, by the way. I'm only not even quite halfway through it. But I read the first couple chapters of it, then and I just fucking didn't read for like a month.
Hmm.
And this I do this.
Anything.
I mean, articles and shit,
No, I'm just saying,
but
like,
not
you don't
like
like pick up another book, just forget that one.
correct. Because I learned that that's a bad habit because then what I do is I end up like starting like 20 books and never finishing any of them.
Hmm.
So now I just like when I have a book and I'm reading that book, that's what I read when I sit down to read.
Hmm.
And I was like, man, I kind of want to finish this book before the end of the year
Hmm.
so that I can kind of start fresh with a new book at the beginning of the year and I'll have read 6 or 7 books this year so that I can kind of start clean. And I was like, I don't know if I can finish it. And I'm like, you know what? It's not that there's 20, 24 chapters left in this book, and there are 24 days, 28 days left in the month. I'll just read a chapter a day. It's not a big deal. It's like 10 or 15 pages. And so then I
It's not gonna be like you're gonna hate read this.
no,
You know how people like hate watch series.
no,
It's like I just have to get to this fucking season.
no. The thing is when I'm reading it, I enjoy it, but
Mm.
it's just easy for me to put down and like um, not pick it back up. Like just because I like something doesn't mean I go through it faster. Sometimes I go through it slower because I don't want it to be over or whatever. And so sometimes I'll grind like the last book I read or the book before last, the last interview with David Foster Wallace. like a 240-page book, and I ground through 180 pages of it in like 2 nights. And then I was like, you would think like it was like, oh, I almost finished. I could, if I do that again, like it'll be done. I'll finish it in 3 days. It took me like 3 weeks, like after that to finish it. It took me like almost a whole month to read that book.
Yeah, sometimes things are a slog at some certain points. You just don't know why at the time.
Yeah,
it's like just not enjoyable at the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it wasn't that I just didn't enjoy it, and like once I got back into it, it's the same thing with it's the Raised by Wolves syndrome.
Yeah,
like Raised by Wolves. Oh yeah, it was good.
It's great.
Yeah, but why haven't I been back to it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just keep not prioritizing it, and the longer you get from something, the less you prioritize it. It's going, yeah, whatever.
It's similar to working any other project where that last bit, the finishing bit, is probably 80% of the work, right? And sometimes a lot of people find that enjoyable. Some people fucking hate it and never finish anything. Because you get people, it's similar to like people starting businesses, right? There's guys that love making startups and selling them. There's a lot of people that love to start projects because it's fresh and new. But once they get into the grind of it, it's not enjoyable to them. And there's some people that love to do the finishing work of it, where you just like all the pieces kind of just marry together. And that extra bit of work, that extra bit of polish is like what they need in life.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes it's like that in life with a lot of things. That people like to start stuff but never really finish anything, or people just fucking hate the beginning part of it, where it's just a mess. They just want to get done and finishing it and having it.
Well, I think it has to do with whether you get joy out of the act or the completion of the like the product.
Yeah.
You know, you finish something, and whether you finish a painting or something, let's say, is probably contingent upon whether you like the act of painting while you're painting, or you get some satisfaction out of like completing a painting and like being proud of it. And if ideally you'd like to do both, and so I mean, yeah, some of the things I write, like I'm not particularly proud of. I'm like, well, they're done.
Yeah.
They're finished.
Yeah.
And that's about as
or
good.
Such a slog. It's like, I just want to get fucking done with it.
Yeah. And so it's just like kind of, this is how working on city council stories usually is. It's just kind of a slog. It's just, but every now and again, like I endeavor to do well on a story and I take my time with it. So because I can tell when I'm doing it and I'm writing it, that it'll be good once it's finished. And so that kind of drives me to like keep doing the work to get it done, because I know that it's not going to get done or get done well unless I put the time in. But yeah, some people just like the act of whatever, but they don't really care about the finished product. And some people only care about the finished product, and they kind of are irritated at the whole process.
Yeah, I've also heard like a interesting take where I think it was a YouTuber, it was like Bo Miles or Miller, I forgot what his last name was, but he was like making a shed for his wife, and he was in the middle of the process, like there's something, like he mentioned it, there's like sometimes there's a projects where I'm having so much fun, sometimes I just slow down a bit because you see the end is near, but the journey has been so great so far, I don't want it to end.
I do that sometimes. Probably not appropriate for the podcast.
Getting a little bad for your prostate.
I'm enjoying myself a little bit. I gotta slow down, get overexcited, be over before you know it.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a take I've never really heard before, and I was like, I never really felt that way about anything.
Yeah, I'm that way with books sometimes. Like
oh yeah, it was like get sad, like you see like you're towards the end of the books, you're getting really thin. It's like, oh,
it's gonna be over soon.
Yeah,
like I've been enjoying it so much, and yeah, it's But no, what are you reading now? Are you reading anything?
Nothing now right now.
Yeah. I got that.
Oh no, Thinking Slow and Fast. I just bought it, so I was like,
I kept meaning to bring you that copy of Memories of My Melancholy Horrors. Like it's a thin book, really good. We were talking about it on the podcast a few months ago or whatever. It's a pretty solid book. But watch anything good? What you been watching lately?
Saw some pretty interesting YouTube videos. I saw a video essay, which is really fun to watch. It's called Gary V, the Youth Pastor of Capitalism. It's just a interesting take of this. Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Gary V. He's like a venture capitalist guy, the whole like grind set thing, alpha male grind, not alpha male, but the grind set, I'll sleep when I die type of thing.
I mean, I'm familiar with this attitude, but I don't think I know who he is specifically.
Yeah, yeah, if you hear him talk, if you're around the internet at all,
Yeah.
you'd probably recognize him.
Mm.
And it's kind of just like a teardown of the guy himself and his personality and kind of the entrepreneur that's been happening in the last 5 years. Yeah.
That's what the video essay was about.
Yeah, it's about him and kind of like his success is a dude that's been an early adopter in things and cashed big on the big white whales. And people just see as like, oh, he's a guru. It's like, no, he just, like all VCs, they just kind of throw the money in the field and sometimes you get a white whale. And
Yeah.
you're just seen as a genius at points.
Yeah.
And he kind of just perpetuates that whole mindset of like, you gotta fucking just grind it out and you'll be successful in very vague terms.
Of course.
And who's this advice for and what are you really saying?
Well, because it's just like anything. It's basically self-help. And my biggest criticism of self-help is really, it seems like its goal is not actually to help you so much as to make you feel good about listening to it. Or
yeah, it's like the whole
it.
TED Talk thing.
Yeah, it just doesn't really, it's not actionable in any way. Or if it is, it's not like philosophy. It's just feel good nonsense. It's like the equivalent of just junk food. It's junk food masking as food. And that's kind of how
junk food is food.
It's not food in the way that you mean it, though. Nutritional.
It's edible, has calories in it, and you poop it out. It's food.
If that's the, I guess, threshold for food, sure. But I've never heard any of these things or seen any of them that really I felt either wasn't painfully obvious. That's how I feel about like a lot of Jordan Peterson self-help stuff, is it's just kind of painfully obvious. It's like, okay, well, whatever. I guess there's maybe like a whole subset of people that don't think this stuff is painfully obvious, so I get who it's for. But I'm more interested in like his more academic stuff, the stuff that doesn't have to do with religion and clean your room and all that. Like, it's more interesting to me. But yeah, I've garnered more utility out of just reading like philosophy. This is why I like philosophy, because it helps shape your thinking in ways that are typically, at the very least, actionable insofar as they help you frame your mindset. But so much self-help stuff, it just doesn't seem like that's like, it's to give you, it's the same problem. It's like, it's to give you a dopamine uptick. So it's like people that read self-help stuff, why is it they seem to have a propensity toward reading a lot of self-help stuff? This thing helps you.
Yeah, you think if you read one, then you think it would solve your problem, right?
You would think, right, but it doesn't. It seems to open this like sluice gate of fucking need for it, right? Where you need someone. And I think the terminus of that is just a life coach. It's just some bullshit person, some fucking guru to just tell you how to live, like some sort of parental figure to monitor everything that you do and tell you how to live. Just basically what a life coach is.
Well, yeah, because I think a lot of like motivational things are very perishable. It's perishable all the time. It has to be refilled all the time or freshened up every time. And if you're not a driven person, you know, being motivated doesn't really help, right?
Yeah,
being driven to a goal is very different being motivated.
But the thing is it seems to most of the self-help shit seems to be kind of geared toward whatever people think success means. And apparently what most people think success means is just making a lot of money. And this is, to me...
Yeah, I think if that's your goal and they just plainly tell you what that is, that's fine. But it's like those lofty goals of like, if you get money, you'll be happy. It's like, sometimes. Yeah, but your money problem be solved, but if you're just a fucking sad person, I don't know what that will do to you.
Sure, but most self-help shit seems to be trying to fix your relationship status or fix your financial status. Because these are the things that people want help with. And so, but I don't think there's any like life hack to it for the most part. you
Oh, that one weird thing that'll help you be successful. It's not one thing.
no.
It's never one thing.
Yeah, and it's just like, what is most people, from what I can gather, the common capital S success that people are talking about is financial success, wealth. Because no one ever talks about like having better interpersonal relationships or having more impulse control or being a more empathetic person or a more patient person or cultivating hobbies that are independent of social reinforcement, things that you do for yourself, introspection, things like this, critical thinking skills. Like these things are all a measure of success in my book, and money has very little to do with any of them. But when people say successful, usually what they mean is like he's got a lot of money.
Oh, that's the whole thing about that video essay.
Oh.
The youth pastor of capitalism.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They delve into that one. It's a Mune cat. I don't know how do you spell or how do you pronounce the U with the umlauts? Moon cat. It's like Dune with the M, but it has the umlauts.
So it'd be like Mueller would have umlauts over it, right? So it'd be like a ooh noise.
Moon cat.
Yeah. Moon cat.
Yeah. It's definitely worth a watch. It's like 45, 50 minutes long.
Oh, that's
pretty. She's an entertaining lady.
Oh, it's a lady.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's really funny and it's entertaining.
Yeah. It's speaking of gurus of sorts. In a bit of news, did you see that Joel Osteen was in the news?
Oh, for what? What did he do this time?
Apparently a janitor or a plumber. It was a plumber. Found a bunch of money hidden in his walls of his church.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
And he I don't know if you remember this, but a few years back, he basically claimed that he had a bunch of money stolen.
Oh.
So the IRS is like, oh yeah, we're gonna definitely investigate this. There's no direct corollary between this is the money that he claims was stolen.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't remember how he claims the money was stolen, but yeah, it's just like, oh, what a surprise. Like some fucking televangelist, fucking borderline cult leader is like not the most scrupulous guy when it comes to like money. Yeah. Like, oh, go figure.
Christian values, but you don't want to give up your fucking stupid mega church to homeless people.
Yeah, make them pay taxes.
Yeah,
make all churches should pay taxes. Fuck that. Whatever that shit is where they don't have to pay taxes, it's fucking stupid.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is either. I feel like it's probably something in the establishment clause or something, separation of church and state, but I don't think churches should be tax exempt. Fuck that. They should pay taxes, all of them. Everyone else has to. So, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, that was amusing to me. I was like, this guy, it's good times. It's like basically because what he is he's kind of similar. He's like a self-help guy, basically. His shit is just generic enough, and then he just kind of layers over like a little bit of like Christian light. It's not really Christianity. It's just like Christian light to like add some element of spirituality to it. And then it's like, oh, there you go. He's Tony Robbins with like a little bit of Christian light in there. It's basically what he is. And it's like, but I don't see how this makes you like credible in any way. But I don't know. Like, I don't have a very high opinion of Tony Robbins either. But
I don't know what that guy's deal is. He just yells at people.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, another thing, great watch. Channel 5 News did a great piece. They did the return to Talladega. I think Andrew went in 2019. And yeah, it's a really good video. Just batshit crazy white people. It's fucking awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Watch it. It's great. And there's a term I've never heard before, WASP.
White Anglo-Saxon Protestant?
Never heard that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they were explaining, it was kind of like, I don't know what the other term they use, but it's basically like a WASP Burning Man. Like these like rich people, not rich people, but these bros have this like Burning Man event with race cars, and then they just go out in the world and this is their hangout where they can just hang out with wasps.
Yeah. It seems weird to me though that it's like, I don't get the acronym WASP.
Why?
Because if you're Anglo-Saxon, you're white.
Mhm.
So white Anglo-Saxon seems
Well, because like you're
redundant.
not like white Italian.
Right, but if you're Anglo-Saxon, you're white.
Mm.
Like that's just baked into the definition.
Mhm.
Like if I called you a black Nubian, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Well,
Well, I think they just want to get really specific about it. It's like there's white people, but we got real white people.
oh yeah, yeah,
We've got the pure white people.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But looking through that whole video, I was like, this is supposed to be the fucking like, supreme race here. These guys. I don't know.
Well, I don't think all wasps are white supremacists, are they?
No, but I was just looking at it, I was like, wow, these guys are fucking real pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And have a real fascination with buttholes.
Buttholes are nice if they're on the right person, but
No, they just want to look at some buttholes. They don't really care.
just any butthole.
It just seems like they just want any kind of butthole.
That is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, it just Andrew Callahan is like a lightning rod for crazy people. I don't know what the fuck, man. Watch some of his videos. They're really entertaining.
I might do that.
Yeah.
It's I watched some stuff this week. Been busy. Watching pretty much a movie every night.
Oh, hey.
So I guess Francis Coppola released a new cut of The Outsiders. You ever watch that movie? You ever read that?
I
book?
read the book, but I never watched the movie. They're supposed to come with a new Outsiders, aren't they?
I don't know. But
a lot of new old stuff's coming out. We got a West Side Stories coming out.
That's really old.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider it's just Romeo and Juliet, so it makes it really fucking old.
Mm-hmm.
But
sharks, jets.
And it's a musical, I guess, so there's that. But no, but I watched The Outsiders. I remember liking it when I was a kid. Read the book, liked it. Saw the movie, remember liking it. And I watched the new cut of it, which has like 22 minutes of extra footage in it. New ending, new beginning. Fairly different. Although I haven't watched it in a long time, so I could only pick up on a few things that were distinctly different. But yeah, not good. Not good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had a recollection of it being good, like when I read the book. When I saw the movie, I remember liking it. But as an adult watching it, it is like very, very evident that a woman wrote the book. I don't mean that pejoratively. It sounds like I mean it pejoratively.
What do boys do when do they play with their wieners? I think they do that.
Well, okay, so you remember the premise of the book, right?
Yeah.
There's the Socias and the Greasers, right? This is commentary on class divide. There is some good stuff in the movie to be sure. Apparently she wrote it in high school. So there's some good stuff in there, absolutely. But it's like the Greasers are like the kind of working class, rough and tumble dudes. And you know, they're kind of like more like almost like a gang, but not really, but they're just, you know, clique of dudes. Hoodlums. But for a group of dudes who are like all from the other side of the tracks, there's a lot of crying and a lot of hugging in the movie. Lots of crying, lots of hugging. Too much crying and too much hugging.
So you're saying guys can't cry or hug?
I'm not saying they can't, but I'm saying that like when you build these guys as like kind of tough guys, and then like every other scene some dude is like crying and hugging another dude, this doesn't seem congruent with that reality. Right? This isn't fucking Downton Abbey, which I could kind of let it go. Like, all right, these are kind of sissy fucking Victorian dudes or whatever. But they're not.
All these downstairs people crying because they're poor. Why don't you just get rich?
But yeah, it was lots of crying, lots of hugging. There's a scene that I know was not in the original where it's like, okay, so do you remember any?
So is this like the inverse of the Rick and Morty thing where Morty had to write a story about two female characters?
I didn't see it.
I think we watched that one. Oh, never mind.
Maybe. Anyway. But no, so like you remember that there's like three brothers, right? Derry, played by Patrick Swayze. By the way, like the movie has a fucking, I don't know if you remember this, but it's a catalog of like who's who before they were famous. So here is the people that are in that movie. Leif Garrett, he was only famous for a while. But the greasers are as follows: C. Thomas Howell, Ralph Macchio, pre-Karate Kid Ralph Macchio, Tom Cruise, Matt Dillon, Patrick Swayze, Emilio Estevez, fucking who else? Basically, it's like the whole cast of Red Dawn before they made Red Dawn.
Oh, interesting.
But anyway, so and Rob Lowe. So anyway, so there's three brothers: Daryl, played by Patrick Swayze, Ponyboy Curtis, played by C. Thomas Howell, and Soda Pop Curtis, played by Rob Lowe. So Soda Pop is kind of like the middle brother. He's gregarious and like likable, and I guess he's supposed to be like the most handsome of them, but it's like Tom Cruise and fucking Patrick Swayze and it's like, okay, so but I guess Rob Lowe's the handsome one for whatever, because the script says so.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
But
it says in the script, I'm the most handsome guy.
He's the most handsome guy.
Come on, guys.
But there's this scene where it's like apparently they're poor, so like Soda Pop and Ponyboy, they sleep in the same bed, and then there's this point where literally, like Soda Pop, like big spoons fucking Ponyboy.
Gets cold.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
He's cold. I don't remember if this is in the book, but he like spoons him, and they're having like this heartfelt conversation. I was like, what the hell?
Cry on my shoulder, spoon.
Yeah. I literally, so I brought it up because we're looking for a movie to watch with Diana's brother. And I was like, okay, so here's what there's a few movies that we can select.
Watch Top Gun?
And I was like, here's a few movies we could select from. And I was like, I keep needing to watch this reboot of the Outsiders or whatever. And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. There's lots of hunky guys in it, right? And I didn't realize how much it would appeal to like a young gay dude, because there's a lot of like dudes with shirts off in there. Like the dudes have their shirts off, and there's lots of crying and hugging and I had to tell him, like, I could see him watching the movie during this scene, and I was like, dude, they're brothers. There's no gay shit's gonna happen. And he was like, oh, okay. And then there's like this.
Straight up just tell him that now.
Yeah, I was like, dude, they're brothers. There's no gay shit happens. And he was like, oh, it's a bummer.
They're not like stepbrothers, right?
And then like in 2 scenes later, when they're at the lot, and it's like Johnny Boy, played by Ralph Macchio, and C. Thomas Howell, Ponyboy. And they're there, and there's like some crying, and like they're getting all, and I'm like, no gay shit happens in this movie. I just kept having to tell him, like, no gay shit happens in this movie, because I could see him like almost getting excited that some gay shit was gonna happen. And I was like, no, I know it seems like it's telling you some gay shit's gonna happen. And I was like, at the end of the movie, I found myself just going, I see why they recut this movie, because they probably were like, man, we can't have it like, this movie is just a little like, the tone is a little incongruent with the subject matter. Like it just is like they're all a bunch of like, especially like the Curtises, like Ponyboy, Derry, and Rob Lowe. Like one of them is crying in like every 2 or 3 scenes. They're constantly crying and hugging each other. It's like, god damn.
That's because they don't have a father figure.
Yeah, that's part of it. Sure, but don't you think that like, hey man, if like we had established the characters as kind of like, you know, they're tough and they're self-reliant and they
got a mushy inside and hard exterior.
And if like there were like some sort of like culmination of events where like at the end, like maybe one of them cried, it would have more impact, right? Like it would have, but they just like, and conversely, Cherry Valance, played by Diane Lane, like a young Diane Lane, very nice. But conversely, doesn't really seem remotely like, she doesn't get I mean, she gets upset, like she throws a Coke in Dallas's face and stuff, but there's no crying with her, and she's not like, I mean, she's sensitive.
I'm a strong, independent female character.
She is. She kind of is. And so it's like, and all the guys are all like a bunch of sissies, and it's like, what the hell? Except Dallas, who's a criminal. So it's like, I don't know. Anyway, so that wasn't as enjoyable as it might have been. But we did watch some other stuff. I showed Diana Euro Dreams of Sushi. I haven't watched that in a while.
Good
fucking movie. Yeah. Short though. I always forget how short it is. Like an hour and 20 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, there's so much you could do about that movie though.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, that's so that was good.
I'm just confused. There's somebody we know that was like, I don't get it. It's like, you just don't get like anything about the movie.
Euro Dreams of Sushi?
Yeah. It's like, what's there not to get? It's like the mastery of your field.
Yeah, but there is
concentration.
But I mean, I do think there are
And
some
like,
things to be missed, right? Like the whole dynamic between him and his son, and this whole like,
yeah, I was gonna mention that part
yeah,
where the reason why they got the person that was ahead of that kitchen at the time when they were the judges were coming in for the Michelin star, it was him leading the helm. 3 Michelin stars.
3 Michelin stars,
Yeah.
10 seats in the restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Diana and I were talking about this and kind of the interesting contrasting it with kind of, because we were talking about her brother and this whole like distinctly American mindset, which seems to be like, you can be a cartoon dog with a jetpack, you can be anything you want, contrasted with the other end of the spectrum, which is like, no, I'm a sushi guy and you will be a sushi guy. You'll be letting everyone in your family and your community down.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, neither of those is good,
Yeah.
right? Like, neither of them are good, because it's like, you definitely get the impression that his son, the older son, he was like, yeah, he kind of like laughs it off, like, I tried to do some other stuff, and like his dad wasn't having it, right? He was like, nope, you're gonna do this,
Yeah.
whether you fucking like it or not. And it's like, maybe there is something to be said for that, maybe there is, but it seems a little, to me, that always seems a little more like self-absorbed. It doesn't seem like it comes from a place of really acknowledging that your kids are unique individuals so much as preserving your legacy, and if you're happy in life doing what you do, then you don't really know another way to impart happiness to your children other than just kind of shoehorning them into doing what you do. But if you really acknowledge that they're distinct individuals and like a meta parenting strategy, then you would acknowledge where they deviate from your sensibilities. This is a problem across the board, whether it's America or Asian cultures or any cultures, is just a failure to acknowledge the ways in which your children are different than you and try to foster and cultivate those interests that differ from yours, because it's just like, you can't process it. Like I think about this with hockey. Like, I grew up liking hockey. My dad likes football. He's a big football guy. I don't know how much further I would have went with hockey, or how good I would have ended up being at hockey, if my dad had taken a more active interest. But you can bet that if I were interested in football, because my dad was really good at football when he was like a teen, before he had like a fucking slew of kids or whatever. But like, like he was like,
it just
fucking
feels different.
he was like all state and like whatever. He set like all these records for, like state for his position or whatever at the time, in the few years that he was in high school. And so like, I have no doubt that if I had like chosen football as like an endeavor to do, that I probably would have ended up being a lot better, because my dad would have taken more of an interest in being involved in that. And it's not like I begrudge him for that, but it's like, I chose to do something that deviated from his sensibilities, and he was encouraging, but not really like, if someone is interested in the thing that you're interested in,
you're gonna foster that a little bit more.
Exactly. And so it's like, those are just,
it's kind of like the Jack Black thing.
Oh yeah. Like we were just talking about how Jack Black must have an awesome mom.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, I'm a NASA scientist, but my son, he does funny stuff.
Yeah.
And he's having fun.
That makes me really like Jack Black's mom. It's just like,
yeah, she helped the Apollo 13 mission get them back to Earth, but he's making people laugh. That's fun.
Yeah. Hey, I like Jack Black as a general rule. I think he's pretty awesome. So good job, Mrs. Black.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, or maybe, or whatever. Or maybe her name, that's not even his real name. I don't know what his real name is. Maybe it's not Jack Black.
Jack White.
Oh. Whoa. But
he's
yeah,
the black sheep, so he took the name.
Watch Ghostbusters. Diana never seen that either.
First one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't.
I forget. Is that one of those movies that you're like, I don't get it, why everyone likes
No,
it so
no.
much?
I've seen the sequel so many times. I've maybe seen the first one 2 or 3 times, but I can't even count.
I've seen the sequel a lot too. I always have trouble delineating. The sequel is the one with the river of goo and the painting.
Yeah, and then the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, everybody gets that. Everybody like hates on that movie. I don't get it. I think it's a good sequel.
I don't know. I don't know why people hate it. I'm not sure.
People hate on it. I don't get it. I think it's a very solid sequel.
I don't know. I have to see. I don't remember much about the first one. That's the problem.
That's the Zool one with the dogs, statues that
Oh,
are
okay.
dogs, and then
Uh-uh.
the Keymaster
Hmm.
and yeah, Winston is in it. I think it's his name, Winston, the black guy. Is he in the second one? I don't even remember.
Yeah, he's in the second
Oh,
one.
he is. Okay.
Yeah,
That's where they introduce his character.
it's unfortunate with Winston.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be like a badass dude. Like he was like in the Marines or something like that. He knows demolition. He's like a really knowledgeable person.
And they just kind of shoehorn him in
So
there.
hey, he just needed a job, so he just gave him one.
Yeah. That's
like,
kind of the way they treat it.
Yeah.
But apparently there was a bunch of stuff that was left on the cutting room floor. We talked about this before with that random scene where like Ray is having a dream that he's getting a blowjob from a fucking like ghost.
Yeah.
It's like because they film this whole sequence where they like go and investigate this haunted house and like he stays there overnight and then that's what happens. And they cut all that out, but apparently they was like, how do we maintain this scene where he's getting a blowjob from a ghost? We just have to have that in the movie, and we'll just have him having a dream about it. It's like so fucking weird and stupid. But hey, you know,
whatever. That gag in there,
I guess. But yeah, I don't know. That's a classic. I like it. And we watched Raising Arizona. Again, that's one of the movies that you're like, I don't get what people like, right?
I don't get it.
God, it's so funny. You're fucking crazy, man.
I don't know. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Saw it. I'm like, well, all right, that's a movie. I don't understand why people like that movie.
It's because it's fucking funny. It's funny in a very understated way. Which is
it funny? I don't know.
All of the it's a Coen Brothers movie, man. It's just like one of those movies that like.
Sure, I like Coen Brothers movies, but not that one.
It's good.
I'm like,
like Nick Cage being Nick Cage, John Goodman. Come on, man.
I like John Goodman. Another one.
Yeah,
don't get it.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. I bought some new records too. Went down to the new record store that I hadn't because Rasputin was closed, and apparently there's one that's like right down the street from Rasputin that looks just like Rasputin. I wonder if it's affiliated.
Streetlight?
I think it's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the two I used to go to a lot.
Yeah, Streetlight doesn't have as big of a selection, but I think its selection is more curated.
It feels like it.
They had a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, they used to have a huge DVD like collection of stuff.
Yeah, they still do.
Oh, they do? Huh?
Yeah, DVDs, CDs, but like I just was there for vinyl, so I went and picked up a few records I've been meaning to pick up and looked for a few other ones that I don't think I'm ever gonna find, apparently, or impossible to find.
Out of print, maybe only like one or two prints, probably.
I don't know, whatever it is. Some of them are like fucking. One of them, I was looking, trying to find it online, and it was like $900 or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Who are these people that pay this much for a record?
Oh, collectors.
I guess.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, here's the thing, man. It's like, okay, so I get it. Like, okay.
Yeah, you can do. Get some MP3s. Go to a vinyl place that could probably make that vinyl for you. Just fucking have them press it for you.
Wouldn't be the same. You wouldn't get the warmth, you know,
Yeah.
whatever horse shit people have. Have you noticed this with like commercials? There's like several commercials now that just incorporate record players.
Oh, I don't watch commercials, so I don't know.
You don't watch Hulu? Because I get them on Hulu.
Yeah.
It's like there's two whiskey commercials, one for Old Forester and one for Knob Creek, that both have record players. And then there's also a Cef commercial that I always see that's like, and that seems to be the crux of it. It's like, it's the warmth, you know, like you get the warmth like you do with a classic vinyl record. And it's like, this is a whiskey commercial, right? Like, why? Or it's a bank commercial. What the fuck are you talking to me about records? Like, This is really weird. But they're just like, I don't know, like millennials are into collecting vinyl or whatever. Like, it's like a thing, right? It's like,
yeah.
Put that in there.
There's a couple trends I don't understand, and I fucking it's kind of irritating to me. First one is the fucking cassette tapes that are like bands are putting out now. Like, I understand it. You want to make some money and all that stuff, but it's like, why cassette tapes? No, I don't understand why anybody likes that shit. Like, I have no fond feelings for it. I fucking hate cassette tapes. Just annoying. They're a poor, like, you could say, okay, maybe you get a better quality of a vinyl if it's well taken care of and it'll last for years if you take care of it. Tapes sound like shit.
They sound like
and they're
shit.
Annoying.
And they degrade very fast.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Well, I think it's part of, it's the same nostalgia that like in the early 2000s that people were our age, like that grew up with cassettes and CDs, and then you kind of go back a generation to vinyl.
Yeah.
And so it's like that nostalgia of the thing that kind of came before you. And so there's people old enough now that like the thing
Yeah,
that
I don't
came.
have a thing for like 8 tracks. Like we never grew up in the generation that had 8 tracks. I've seen them, but like I don't have any fond feelings for it. I grew up with like tapes, and those things sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's mostly like I don't have a particular. I'm not gonna go on the whole like, oh, like a vinyl record just sounds. It's like no, it's just like it's a like a permanent thing, and it holds up better than a cassette, which is shit, and
Yeah,
a CD, which is slightly better than shit. But it's just
I don't want to carry binders around.
yeah,
And sure, yeah, it's if they're well taken care of, they'll last for a while.
sure.
And the second trend, I don't. It's like the YouTube algorithm is like, hey, you like photography? Check this out. Look at these fucking hipsters. Like, talk about fucking film cameras.
Yeah, analog
And
photography.
yeah, and it's like they have like point and shoot cameras they're reviewing and all this stuff. I'm like, guys, we we solved the problem. We have DSLRs, we have like digital media, and guess what? You can get the same feel through some settings on your Lightroom thing, and it's fine.
But I think what that is people just like being in the dark room.
Well, some of the videos I saw, they send them into labs, so I'm like,
Well,
what's the
that's
point of that? Like, I understand if you're into it and you like developing film, I can probably get around. I can get that a little bit, but it's like, it's just kind of annoying.
yeah, that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah,
Unless you like something about the finite nature of a film camera, where it's like you have 24 shots or whatever.
yeah. And they put
That's
it on a point and shoot. I'm like, well, and I was looking at the prices like point and shoot like film cameras. Like you can buy you know a full frame SLR for a lot cheaper than a point and shoot.
really.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
Like
it's like
why?
that's what I don't understand. It's like I say, if you have like, say, if you have like an old Nikon or Pentax or whatever back from when film cameras were like a thing.
Yeah.
Like okay, it's like a vintage camera or whatever, and it's probably but like it's the same thing as with cassettes. Like Polaroids are now like a thing that are popular.
Yeah.
It's like Polaroids are shitty. They suck.
It's
They're
the old school feel. The same thing with
but
like
they but the quality of the photograph sucks.
yeah, it
The
sucks.
novelty of it was that you got it instantaneously
Yeah.
and it looked like shit.
Yeah.
But it was like I get it now and it's cool and it's
Well,
like
it's that whole physical thing that you have and you put it up and it looks cool. Whatever. I don't get it.
I think I don't know, I think Polaroids look like shit.
That's the physical thing.
Yeah, I guess maybe for people that are tactile, that's part of the appeal.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be something to be said if like you had a cool like if you had like every guest who came to your house, you took a Polaroid with them and you have a wall full of them. That's cool. But other than that, I don't want to carry that thing around.
No, I don't know, maybe. I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, I don't know. Some people just, tactile things. I suspect that's what's going on with vinyl a lot, is it's a tactile thing. And it's probably what's going on with me in like books too. Like I don't really read digital books. I like having a book. I like reading a physical newspaper. And I can't really put my finger on why. It's all just information in my brain. But I don't know, I like having books. I like reading books more than I like reading on a device. For whatever fucking reason. I have a Kindle and I could just download the books. But whatever. I don't know. I think this part of it is
Why
too.
carry a bunch of books when you can carry thousands of books in your palm of your hand?
But as I said, I actually like just having one book that I'm reading and being able to like see, oh, I got so much book, I have the book left, and feeling the book like go away as I read it.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I don't know. It's kind of like says I'm 12% done, but how much is that? I don't really know.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to have a physical book with nonfiction, but when it's fiction stuff, I just, I don't mind having.
I just prefer to have it. To me, it would be the same as if suddenly they invented some sort of vape that tasted exactly like cigars, and it were easier because you didn't have to light it, and it was like there was no ash and there was no mess, and it was like whatever, more convenient in every way. I could have like I could just switch out the cartridge and it
Oh,
would
a
be,
Padrone.
yeah, it would just be like I have a Padrone and now I have a Plasencia and I just have a cartridge and I don't have to carry this thing around. But I would, even if that were the case, I probably would still just like smoke an actual cigar. And I can't really tease out why that would be, but I would just want the actual smoke billowing off of it and the ash and whatever. I would like that more than like whatever facsimile of that thing.
Hmm. So you're saying you don't like to put your reel to reel together to watch a movie? It's the same thing with like the whole like movies on film versus digital. I was like, I gotta take digital over fucking print stuff. It just looks better. All that like bullshit is like, it looks better, feels warmer. Like, I like the grain and all that shit. It's like, they fake all that stuff already. It just, you couldn't tell the difference if no one told you.
But the benefit of film is that film holds up better.
And that's not the discussion I'm trying to make. I'm just saying the look of it and the definition of it. It looks better. Like, depending on the feel and the look of like, you want something from the future, you want something like incredibly sharp. And you can't get any sharper with like digital's the way to go. And you can manipulate the digital picture to look like film. And
I don't like that whole like whatever that whole like super smooth shit is though. Like that's like a bridge too far for me. Like
that's something else. But
when it
that's you're talking about frame rate.
Right, yeah. And that's only a thing you can't get that with analog film from what I understand.
Like, because you can only get 24 for a normal film.
Right. And so whatever that is, like, it's weird to me. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it. It doesn't, it's not pleasing to the eye. It's the same thing when I edit the podcast. People ask me, it's like, why are you shooting everything at 23.9? Why don't you just do it at 60? It's like, I like the look of 23.
Yeah.
Just looks like, film and television to me. So that's why I keep it that way.
I don't want it to look hyper realistic. It's weird.
Yeah,
like
go to the screen. Hey.
Yeah, like some old episode, like you can tell that with the old episodes of the Twilight Zone, some of them are filmed on like a higher frame rate.
Yeah.
And they just look like a stage play or something. It's really weird. I don't like it.
Yeah, it was the same thing with like old BBC stuff from like Doctor Who. Like, look weird. Yeah.
Yeah, The Prisoner kind of has some episodes that look like that too, where it's like, why is this weird? I don't know. It's jarring. But yeah, I mean, like I get the argument that like for preservation purposes, like if you take a digital copy of a movie that's like 25 or 30 years old now, and you try to play, like they have to touch it all up, it looks muddy as fuck. It looks terrible.
Yeah.
But whatever, it's like old reel to reel, the Maltese Falcon from 1942. Just stick that shit in there. It looks just like it did then. It doesn't look as good as a modern film, but it still looks like it's supposed to look. And so for movies that, especially for movies that are like contrast black and white, or movies where color is like a big thing, right? Like a digital copy of Blade Runner 2049 in like 50 years will look not as good. It will need a lot of work to get it to look like it was originally intended. And then you could make the argument like, well, how was it originally supposed to be intended? Denis Villeneuve and Roger Deakins are long fucking dead. So how can we piece together what this was supposed to look like in like the scale of, because I've seen plenty of movies where it's like they've been touched up and different versions of how they've been touched up have like looked drastically different. And you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, like, Oh Brother Where Art Thou's a good example. Like, that's something you can't do. Color correction is like something that the look of that movie, if it were just shot on film, would be fucking way different.
Yeah, well, it would be in the same film.
Exactly. It'd be a completely different movie because visually anyway. And so, yeah, it's versatility is there. If you're making an argument for preservation, then, that's a different argument. But, I guess it's just prioritizing the here and now product over the legacy of the product. And so, like, if you're shooting a movie where you didn't need digital, right? Like, let's say it's not like a big epic or whatever. It's a small scale biopic or whatever, and like you want it to something like Bicycle Thieves or something like that. Then yeah, why not shoot it on film? Because it'll maintain its like you don't need the tools in the tool set of the digital manipulation. So if you don't need them, don't necessarily use them, because then there's a benefit to not toward the longevity of the film if you shoot it on film. So why not just do that? But if it's just like, if you're making an argument for aesthetics, it's like, well, but digital can achieve whatever aesthetic that analog can. It's
Yeah.
the same thing with digital photography. People always make it, well, it just looks different, and it's like, no, it doesn't. Like, unless if you have apples to apples printer like the most modern digital camera versus the analog camera, I bet you if I print out the same photo, one of each, like I take the fucking Pepsi challenge, and I bet you can't tell.
Yeah,
because it looks great. It'll look good. So whatever.
Yeah, and the whole thing of like people like that watch multiple viewings of a certain film is like, oh, it just looks, I just love how it looks. Like the film's all scratchy, shit like that. I was like, really? Why would you? Okay. Don't you want to be seen by like how the filmmaker wants it to be, rather than like being aged and like, I don't know.
But maybe they look at it like, okay, so like I don't get. I mean, yeah, that's just like those are artifacts of
usage and having it,
and so it feels old timey.
Yeah.
And so, but maybe they look at it in the same way that you look at an old pair of jeans or an old pair of leather boots.
Yeah, worn in. Yeah,
worn in.
Has a life.
But like that's not integral to the work so much as it is the experience, right? So it's like you say, like old worn in. Well, why would you want them to be all broken in like that? Like it's this is the way that jeans are supposed to look.
No, just that's what they're supposed to look when you get them.
Yeah.
But like you paid the price of wearing them to get that look.
Right.
They're worn in, lived in, and the pattern that you put in is uniquely yourself because you worked that way.
I mean, I'm with you, but I'm just
playing
devil's advocate.
Yeah,
maybe that's how they look at it, right? Like it's kind of like, oh, the film is all worn in. You mean like degraded in a way that it was never intended to be degraded?
Yeah.
And there's even some like Grindhouse is a good example. They kind of take that to a tongue-in-cheek level.
Yeah.
And people think it's quirky or whatever, but I kind of I sense like some sort of almost like kind of commentary on that phenomenon there. It's like, oh, look at how quirky, and like there's little burn marks and the skin, and then there's like a piece of the film missing, and then they just kind of join back up in the action. It's like but if that really were the way a movie was,
oh, you get pissed.
You would be like, well, I just missed a whole. If you knew that
what the fuck,
right? If you were unaware that it was artifice and you just thought that was the way it was, you would just be like, well,
we had no knowledge of what a Grindhouse film is or what. If like you don't even know what film is, you're like, what the fuck is this? It just looks like shit. Yeah,
exactly.
Or you saw that for the first time, is like, who fucked up this film, assholes?
Right. Yeah, it's like, to me it would be like kind of if suddenly we woke up tomorrow and there was like the most fashionable makeup was like women putting on lipstick and then just doing this.
Yeah.
And it was just smeared across their face. And we didn't know that was like now fashionable. We would just be like, yeah, you got a big here smear. Well, that's like the way people are wearing it now. And you'd be like, yeah, it looks like shit though. Like it's not just because that's the way people are wearing it doesn't mean that it looks good.
Well, it's like when ripped jeans are in vogue, right?
Yeah.
And then you could buy jeans that are ripped.
It's
like, you bought that like that? This is what it's supposed to be.
You know what's funny is I never understood that, because have you ever had a pair of jeans that rips strategically, like you see the ripped, because every time I get a hole in my jeans, it's almost always in the ass or the crotch.
Oh, no. I had
long before I ever get a hole in the knee or like the upper thigh.
I've had the knees before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like I felt like I did when I was younger, when I was like
when I was like active
and I was a kid and I was more active.
Yeah.
But now, like through normal wear as an adult, if I get a hole in my jeans, it's in the crotch or the ass or pants. Period.
Yeah. I wonder if there's gonna be a thing where your cell phone is. You know how there's like a wear mark.
Oh yeah.
Like, is that gonna be a thing? Like, I don't know if what we conceive a smartphone as, the form factor is different.
Yeah.
But like 20 years from now, they're gonna just like pre-do that. So it just looks like you have a smartphone in your pocket.
Maybe, but they don't make wallets with like condom rings in them. In the leather,
Yeah.
That would be the equivalent in my eyes. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe they will.
I never used them, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Feels different.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, want to do top 5 Maduros this week? We didn't do it a few weeks ago.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Top 5. Are you going from 5 to 1 or 1 to 5? or any order.
Let's just say that they make the 5.
Okay. I go like no in particular order. I'd probably say Padron 1926. Probably the Davidoff Maduro. I think it was the Oro. That was a beautiful cigar.
Oh yeah, the Oro.
So
Yeah,
good.
it's got like a burgundy band on it, doesn't it?
Don't remember what the band looked like.
Maybe
But it's the Maduro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great cigar.
Yeah, I don't make a lot of good cigars that are Davidoffs that are more in the medium to full profile. Most of their good stuff is kind of lighter, the exception of the late hour.
Yeah, the late hour is like their standout for fuller body.
Yeah.
Padron, Davidoff. Man, those are like the top ones. I guess I like the Oliva O Maduro. I like that one, but
that's the
Habano.
See, that's weird because I think the O is the Habano Maduro, isn't it?
I'm not sure if it's the Habano. I guess it would be because it's the O.
I think that's what it is. Because the G is the Cameroon. I think the O is a Habano. So I don't even really know how to conceive of what a what a Habano Maduro is like. But maybe that's why it's good. I like that cigar too.
Yeah, it's a good cigar. That's 3. Trying to think. That's all I can think of right now. Those are the standouts for me.
Only 3? It feels like I gotta like narrow it down. I feel like I could probably list 10.
Because the problem is like I really like the San Andreas wrapper, and a lot of cigars that I like have that.
Yeah.
So I just nail it on the head with the 1926 because that's like the standout to me.
It's a pinnacle of the
of that blend, the one that started the trend.
Yeah. 601 Blue Label, Mission.
That's why I'm saying, because like those are great cigars, but they're not as good as the 1926.
The original.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of Maduros that have like distinct profiles. For me, I think the Curvari Sun-Grown Maduro probably hits the list.
Oh, that was good. Yeah. Very good.
But again, definitely I think I probably like the 64 more than the 26. I go so long between smoking anniversarios that I never remember which one I like more.
Yeah, because I like the 26 because it's a little bit more gruff, has that oomph to it. The 26 is a little bit too smooth for my taste. It's like, yeah, it's good, but I just want that bite.
The 64, you mean?
Yeah, the 64. Yeah, sorry. The 64 it's too smooth.
I like the 45 and the 46 year. Those are 26s or 64s? I think they're
64s.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I like.
I don't think, was it the 35, number 35? That's the perfect size.
It's like a Corona, isn't it?
It's smaller than that.
Is
little
it?
Tiny guy. It's short. It's like the ring.
Oh, it's like a petite Corona.
Yeah.
It's like a 46 by like 4 or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's a little dude.
Yeah, the reason why I think Old Man Padron could smoke it in 35 minutes, he called it the number 35.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I would put a Padron, like a Anniversario Padron, up there. This just kind of gets in the operational definition. Like, so is a Maduro just any dark wrappered cigar? Or does it have to be branded a Maduro? Like, I think the Opulence is one of my favorite cigars.
Is it concerned? Well, it's the process, right?
Sure.
That makes it a Maduro.
Yeah.
Because an Oscuro is not a Maduro.
Is it?
No. It's something else. It's just not processed in the same way as a Maduro.
I thought it was just like on a color scale. The Oscuro is color scale, isn't it?
Yeah, the color of the thing, but I guess not all Maduros are Oscuro.
Right, because a Maduro is just anything past a Colorado, typically on the color scale. And Oscuro is the highest, like it's the highest darkness.
Is it the way? I don't know. I thought they had the process of it being aged in the barrels or in the piles to have the sugars come out. That's why it's a Maduro.
Right, but that also changes the color scale. Doing that like makes it darker.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah.
Does it just hint at the process?
Yeah, I guess. It's just a Maduro is just
just all Oscuros are Maduros.
Yes, but not all Maduros are Oscuros.
Yeah.
Anything over a Colorado is typically called a Maduro. So that's why they have some companies just have naturals and Maduro. It's Colorado and a darker than a Colorado.
Yeah.
And then if it's, so
Yeah, because like, what's the natural? It's like anything that's not a Maduro.
Right. If there's just naturals and Maduros, but typically on that scale, it's a Colorado, which would be Candela, Claro,
Mm-hmm.
Colorado Claro,
Mm-hmm.
Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
Colorado Oscuro,
Mm-hmm.
Oscuro, and then somewhere in there, I guess you would have Rosado too, wherever that hue comes in. Like,
Yeah.
but that has to be a certain type of. It's like the problem with wrapper leaf versus coloration process and Maduroing process.
Yeah.
But if you're just saying a Maduro is a darker wrap cigar, then I think the opulence probably fits the bill. But I don't know what the actual blend, like the Antiquidad, does that? It's a sun-grown Rosado Habano
Yeah.
hybrid.
Yeah. I just think it's just a Rosado.
Yeah. It don't look like a Rosado though. It looks like a Maduro. It's dark.
Yeah. Same thing with the
Like,
Illusione from the original documents. They're fucking dark as fuck, but they're just sun grown. What was it? Sun grown.
Corojos?
No, they're not Corojos. They're damn. Now I forgot what they were. Now I'm blanking out.
The Tatuaje Kahonu Broadleaf 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Broadleafs are Maduros, right?
Yeah,
we can agree on
yeah,
this.
Yeah.
So that one goes on my list.
That's a good. That's a good one.
That's a good fucking
That's a
cigar.
good one.
So yeah, it's probably Padron. I would probably put the Davidoff Oro on there too.
Sun-grown Sumatra. That's what they're called.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sun-grown Sumatras. You're right.
But they're dark as fuck. But they're not Maduros.
They don't look like Sumatras. I would probably put this. The Siempre probably counts as a Maduro. I would say.
Yeah, it's a Scoro. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's if Maduro, if Escuros are Maduros, then yeah, I would. The Siempre is probably on my list.
Pretty good.
It is heads and tails above. Well, not heads and tails. That new sun grown or that new Rosado Siempre they put out is pretty solid. And you like it was the new, and I was smoking it for a minute. I was like, this is pretty good. And then I was like, I haven't had a classic Siempre, and I was like, oh, this fucking dunks on.
Oh
that,
yeah,
dude.
for sure. Yeah,
but this is like much better.
Yeah, it's like the flavor of the month. I'm like, well, I like this old gal over here.
But when it was new, and it is a solid cigar, it is like a
just not as
solid
good.
8.5. Yeah. And then you smoke that Siempre, especially the ones we got at West Coast, are smoking so fucking good, dude.
Yeah,
it's a good cigar. But like, why is the El Borracho Maduro is a solid cigar.
It's solid.
Like, it's solid, but
I don't know if it cracks my top 5. But
no, it doesn't.
Solid,
it's solid. It's serviceable. But everything else in Dapper's line is like from serviceable to like not. And then the Siempre is just like a shining gem of a fucking cigar.
Yeah,
it's really good. I remember when those first hit West Coast, and we were all just. What is this? Keep an eye on this company, and then we had an event with them, and we were like, "Oh, okay, whatever." But no, the Siempre probably makes my list of, and that Kahonu Broadleaf makes my list, and the 1964 Padron makes my list, and probably the Curavari Sun-Grown Maduro. I feel like it's old enough now that I can say that, because when it first came out, I was like, "This is really the Curavari. This is really good."
Yeah,
but it's just like what stands the test. Are there any, because they don't really make Cuban Maduros. I can't think of any.
They have the Cohiba, but I don't really like those. Especially because I've had the first batch when they came to the market. I was like, this tastes just salty. Just doesn't have any Maduro taste to it.
Yeah.
And I never came back to it. People just love them because it's just like a flex move. Like, oh, the whole Maduro Cohibas. Like, yeah, it tastes like shit. Have fun with that.
But I find myself wondering, is it like, why is that? I mean, they have access to the same Maduroing process that everyone else does. It's not like a Rosado. Rosado is really hard to grow outside of Cuba. And so, because of a confluence of environment and region and all this shit. So it's like when
it's their supply chain, because they like to ship out their stuff really fast.
Right.
Because unlike the stuff for the American markets, they're typically, it used to be a talking point. A lot of the time was like, well, the tobacco's been aged for 5 years. That's unheard of for the Cuban market, where they just kind of
release everything young and then you age it.
You age it at home. So them sitting on tobacco was kind of not their MO. Unlike the stuff for the American market, where they're used to sitting on stuff for 5 years to help it mature and then, have it ready to go.
I don't know how long the Maduroing process takes, though, to get something to go from a Candela to a Maduro with pressure and heat. Are we talking a few months, or are we talking longer than that, like a year or 2 years? Because there's a big gap in my cigar knowledge. I have no idea how long that process.
From what I read, it's like 6 months to a year, I think. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, because you don't want to keep it too long, because then it'll start to degrade.
Yeah, but
It'll start to, like,
but you could
turn
tell
to
me it takes a
compost.
few weeks, and I would be like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I would believe that.
yeah. The problem is that, like, the whole, like, having it called the Maduro, there's a lot of, like, trickery that's involved with it, because there's different steps you could do to kind of speed up the process of having a Maduro cigar, which could be steaming it.
Yeah.
Speeds up the process, or you can paint it and dye it, which happens to a lot of cheap cigars.
Yeah.
And if people aren't familiar, if you ever smoke a cigar, it's really dark and it's too even of a color, it's a good sign that's either steamed or dyed.
Yeah, it's not mottled.
Yeah, and plus two, it leaves a black mark on your mouth.
Yeah, like the Onyx. You ever smoke that?
I haven't had that in a long time.
I mean, it's a fine, like, cheap ass fucking internet cigar on the relative scale of cheap ass internet cigars, but it's just like black as fuck.
Yeah, same thing with the Sancho Panzas. You ever had the double Maduro? Yeah, they're, at the time I thought they were pretty good, but yeah, it just, like, it has that fucking oil band when you're smoking it.
Yeah,
like, it just smokes by it's the same thing with the Liga Privada.
Yeah,
has that fucking oil mark and it just fucking smokes by itself.
Yeah, Ligas I don't get. I don't really. I'm not that's not my jam. But
Tabernacles are good.
Yeah,
CT, those are delicious.
Yeah, those are really good. It's like they're really firm though.
Yeah,
really firm cigar. And like every now and again, like, because they're so firm, you get one and they don't fucking draw for shit. I've noticed it more in recent years, where it's like, man, these were really good when they came out, and it was like you thought it was going to be really firm, and then it was like, oh no, the draw on it is actually really good. But now, like, it seems like they're like every third or fourth one I smoke has like a little bit of draw issue, and you got to be patient with it to open it up while you smoke it. But I'm trying to think of other ones that we haven't listed that are really solid Maduros. I don't know. That Pichardo Maduro is pretty. That Pichardo San Andreas is pretty fucking.
Yeah,
cool.
I gotta have, like, like 2 years of smoking it to try it out.
It's like, because
like, I know what happens.
It's still pretty new.
Yeah,
and so that's part of my reservation. Is it's like
that's solid. It's super good.
It's like putting a movie on your top 5 list after like a month of
just watching it. It's
yeah.
like, it's the best movie ever.
Yeah, and sometimes that
Dune,
is
best movie ever.
Dune is a good example. Or like I remember when I walked out of the theater after seeing The Departed. I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to overstate it, but that movie's like one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. It's really fucking good. Or No Country for Old Men was the same way.
Yeah,
I went to see that and I was like,
yeah, it stood the test of time, but you gotta give it time.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because some movies really don't hold up. You like go back and watch them, and you're like, I used to like this. It's not that good. It's like I remember really liking Commando when I was a kid. But that movie is like farcical. Like, it's so over the top 80s action that it's like ridiculous. But I think Conan holds up. I think First Blood holds up. Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, they all hold up pretty good.
All right, that does it for our top 5-ish Maduros.
I don't know if I got to 5. You only got to 3.
Yeah, I got the 3. I got, I think I'll be at it a little more.
Yeah.
What other top 5 do you want to put up for next week?
I don't know. What do you think? What do we do for villains?
Maduros. Thanksgiving dishes.
Oh yeah, we did Thanksgiving
I
dishes.
did that. Christmas movies is kind of lame.
Why don't we do I don't Hollywood Beauties.
Okay.
This is also kind of like you have to temper that with a recency bias, like who's the fucking the hot new stuff, and who's like stood the test of time.
Well, like, they can't be like all like C actresses. They're just like models that were in movies. You're like, ooh, who's the best? They have to be like legitimate actresses, right? That can act.
Why don't we do the top 5 actors, male or female?
Oh, okay.
Based on not looks but talent. Talent, roles, depth, longevity, all those are measures. That's no easy feat. There's been a lot of really good actors over the years. And so give that some thought, let it percolate, distill it down to 5.
Okay. That's your homework for till next week.
Yeah. Write us and let us know what your thoughts are.
Matt, write them down.
Matt, write them down, Matt. Oh, interestingly enough, Matt sent me, he was like, hey, check it out. Here's my top 5 podcasts. Like, I listen to a lot of fucking podcasts, man, and top 5 podcasts. And he's like, you guys craft the top 5, apparently. We're number 3.
Only listen to 5 of them.
No, he said he listens to a lot of podcasts, but like, it's like, God, I forget what number 1 was, but one was like Harmontown.
Oh yeah.
And I think the other one was like
he's the only other person that I know that listens to Harmontown.
Matt
I was like, oh my God.
Matt listens to like all the podcasts.
Yeah.
Like any nerd shit you can. I think one of them was like a Kevin Smith podcast.
Oh yeah.
So like maybe.
Oh,
I mean, Kevin Smith got like.
You ever listen to Dignation, Matt?
He's in Dignation.
No, he's not.
He's into Dignation. I don't know. Maybe he is.
I just watched some of that stuff. It took me back. That was like the format that we're doing now. Basically, they did it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty well, yeah, but it was more around. Remember the website dig.com? Oh wow. Okay. No, I gotta show you some episodes. They're pretty funny, or funny to me.
I mean, maybe it's like E-Bombs World level shit like back then.
Man, have you seen this video clip?
Just go to http://
People used to make that fucking joke. Anyways, that does it for this week. You fucking degenerates.
You're degenerates.
Yeah, sometimes.
No, it's okay. Not you. I was talking to the audience.
Oh, Matt.
Jinx.
All right. Don't be a fool. Wash that goddamn hands when you're eating that gabagoo. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Mikey and the Press Pass podcast. Consider subscribing. You can rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere where you can listen to podcasts. And you can also write us with any ideas, suggestions, or horrible burning criticism at mikeyandthepresspass@gmail.com. Thank you.